What's up, y'all? This is Sonja Jones of GIP Financials, your Mr. Miyagi of Money, and we are here again at the From Chaos to Clarity Unleash Your Business Potential podcast. And I'm here with somebody near to my heart, and she was very integral in the beginning of really like not the business per se, but the start of my full-time entrepreneurship journey. And Nancy, I know I have not told you this, but May 23rd, I think it was May 23rd, May 26th, 2023, there was a pitch contest that was sponsored by well, at the time they were formerly known as Women's Business Center South. They're now Webex South. And they had a pitch contest. And I was one of the 10 finalists. And a part of what they did for us to prepare us for the pitch is that they gave us pitch coaching. And that's how I met Nancy. And just so happened the day of, because I was still working full time at my charter school job, that day of around noon, because I'd already announced to my boss that that was going to be my last school year. But little did I know that, everybody ain't happy for you when you transition.
That part.
And I had a very surprising event that happened that day to the point where I had to make a decision about me. And so I resigned. And that morning I was already like, dude, I still need to practice. I'm not polished enough for this pitch. And so that afternoon, I was just trying to, compartmentalize everything that happened at the job and try to focus on that pitch for that night. And so I knew, if nothing else, I knew I could be funny and be a comedian up there while I was doing my pitch. So I had my little green jacket on, went up there, did my pitch, and I won third place. And so, yeah, I won third place. And that was all due to this young lady here, Miss Nancy. Yes, Miss Nancy Brownlee, because she was the one that was encouraging me. And so I wanted to make sure we actually reconnected at an event last week. And so I was like, you got to come on the podcast so we can talk about your amazing gift and also just being a serial entrepreneur because you got a lot of things going on. So, Nancy, please introduce yourself to the world and what you do.
Yes, I would say infamous, but not everybody knows me yet.
That's
I'm
right.
Nancy Brownlee, soon to be Dr. Nancy Brownlee with a DBA in Business Administration. So all praises go to our Lord and Savior for that. But yes, serial entrepreneur. Most people know me as a pitch coach and a small business strategist. That's what I'm most known for. I've been the owner of PrideWorks Agency, which started out as a staffing company for members of the LGBT community. But somewhere along the way, we were doing more consulting through that business
Mhm.
than anything. And so kind of made that transitioning without having to change too much of the framework, and just began outsourcing some work that needed to be done within that. And also newly, me and my business partner, we have opened up JB Culinary Holdings, LLC in Mississippi, which pushes the Mississippi Occupational Culinary Institute, which is an apprenticeship for those within the culinary industry. So on the side, I like to cook too, but I'm just the business part of that.
I love that. I love that. And so, especially what I heard from that is everything that you like to do. So, you got some mission fit things that you
Mhm,
have. So, you're operating in your gift, and also just the things that you just love to do
mhm,
that ended up being opportunities to serve the community as well. So,
mhm.
I love that. Love, love, love that. So, let's talk about. I told Nancy we were going to kind of split it up because I want to talk about entrepreneurship and then I want to talk about pitching. So let's dive into entrepreneurship. So, so Nancy, let's talk about with your business. How are you structuring? Because we're talking about knowing your numbers, right?
Mhm.
So let me ask you this: when you were starting your businesses, how did you start your businesses as far as like funding and capital and things like that?
And so first getting started, I myself, like a lot of people, I went broke trying to make my dream come to fruition. Everybody tell me, oh, you can just go apply for this grant or you can apply for this loan. Nobody said anything to me about your personal finances being in order, none of that. And so it was a lot of no's before, it's probably 100 no's before I got my first yes. And
I
so
love
I went deeply into the hole until I learned how to ask for money myself for my
it.
business and specific money to go in specific places. So I'm not using all of my money for everything that I'm trying to do. But that was me pretty much in a nutshell the first year.
I love, yeah, because I mean, even with myself, I did the same thing. Because those funding opportunities, because you hit the nail on the head as far as the amount of education that comes with starting a business.
Hmm.
I've just noticed like it's mind blowing.
Hmm.
Folks, they can talk about credit and grants and funding all day long, but they're not talking about bookkeeping and the fundamentals that come with
Hmm.
that. So we are going to always evangelize that. But something that you mentioned about once you kind of hit the floor, you gotta come back up, right?
Hmm.
So can you tell us a little bit of some of the best practices that you use to build your personal finance back up?
Um, well, I'm one of those people who got a lot of money quick growing up, but I was not taught how to properly manage my money. And I'm a very transparent person when it comes to finances because I don't like to talk about something I haven't gone through or experienced. I hit a plateau of where I had to completely file bankruptcy. I'm like, okay, I got more debt than income coming in, or I got income that I know right now mentally I'm still not in a place to take care of it. Let me just wipe my slate clean. And so it might take me a little bit longer to get to where I'm going, but I knew I was going to get there eventually. So that was kind of my restarting point. It's like knowing that, okay, I'm going to get a lump sum of money. And at the time, either nobody taught me the difference between chapter 13 and chapter 7.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew in order, and that's another conversation for another day, but Duns and
Mm-hmm.
Bradford, that they look into your personal finances.
That's
And
right.
all of that is public information. And what you're going to see is all this red and stuff, but I actually got cash. Y'all just seeing what's in the bank or what's
Mm-hmm.
attached to my social. And so it's like, I knew that at that point, it's like, okay, if I want my business to be successful, I know I personally have to make those investments into myself to get my personal on track.
Absolutely, absolutely. We talk about that a lot too, as far as because on social media, I'm pretty sure you've seen it. Like folks will talk about you can file all these LLCs and get come off the grid and apply for all these credit cards, and you don't. It won't track on your credit report. And that's far from the truth. You
Mm-hmm.
have to. That's a privilege. You have to earn that privilege. And you can do it with one LLC instead of
Mm-hmm.
five or six, right? But the reality of it is like you said, just not having the information available to you, but then just having the resilience to know, like, hey, and
Mm-hmm.
especially I'll talk about me as well as far as like being a full time entrepreneur. It's one thing to have a business and have a full time job,
Mm-hmm.
but to transition into full time entrepreneurship, I had to get a money coach. There's a resource here in Shelby County called the Greater Memphis Financial Empowerment Center. It
Mm-hmm.
is free to the residents of Shelby County. I went to them to ask them for help to restructure my budget, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are a lot of things as a full time entrepreneur, like benefits and things like that, that you have to think of, and take into consideration, especially, because I have a husband and we have kids and all that stuff like that, right? So no matter what part of your journey, you always are going to need some level of support. And
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to your money, like you said, you have to disrobe. In order for you to get the help that you need, you're going to have to get naked a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we talk to our entrepreneurs about that because we can't help you as bookkeepers if you're, ashamed to talk about certain things, but
Mm-hmm.
that's our job to create that safe space.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So thank you for sharing that. So let's pivot a little bit. So now let's talk about your full-time job, balancing the full-time job and the number of businesses, right, that you have. So give us some best practices, or if you want to just walk us through your journey about that, however you want to share, it's fine.
I would like to think I've always been pretty organized, and I'm OCD when it comes to keeping up with time. Like every minute of my day is almost planned out, and even if somebody cancels, that throws me out. And I try to get to a place now where I'm not filling in those empty spaces with too much stuff. It's like, okay, you have a breath. Let's take that moment. Being sure to incorporate self care in some type of capacity into my day. But I tend to use platform Trello. Trello kind of keeps me organized. Kind of put some of my bookkeeping and financial information into there too, because ain't nobody else got access but me. But when it comes to just structuring out my day, it's like I live by a calendar. At least from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Anything outside of that time is, my leisure time and anything that I'm choosing to do. But I'm grinding it out all them hours. Like those are my business hours. And really, I don't take
Mhm.
a phone call before 8 o'clock. And so if you call me at 7:55, I'm gonna stare at my phone until until 8 o'clock. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed your call. But now, what did you want now? A respectable hour, just giving yourself grace and time to maneuver, because every day is the same 24 hours. Either you get to it or you don't.
Mhm.
And I'm a person that's very critical of myself, not being able to accomplish certain things. And it's like, but that's also that competitor in me, wanting to
Mhm.
make sure that I can do this and do that and do it before you. I'm up with the worms and the birds. And, I enjoy pushing myself to that limit, but also watching my body and listening to it to make sure that I'm not overdoing it.
Oh boy, so many nuggets there. So many nuggets there. So I've heard of Trello, but I haven't used Trello, so I'm definitely going to check that out.
Mm.
You got to have a tool, right? But when you talk about the calendar, I'm the same way. I tell folks all the time, if it's not on my calendar, it will not get done.
I know Google
Right,
hates see me coming. Like,
right. Yeah, I gotta have it. Yeah, I use Google Calendar and Google Tasks.
mm.
But yeah, if it's not on my calendar, it's not happening, Jack. Even my personal stuff,
I know
you know.
Sarah be like, here she go again.
Right,
Uh,
right,
You've already
exactly.
done that. No, this is a new day, Siri.
Exactly. And I love how you talked about giving yourself grace and also prioritizing yourself with boundaries, right? I'm still
Mm,
working on that because I'm learning because I'm a night owl and
mm,
I normally like to work on things after hours and I have to make sure that I put things in place, right? Like scheduling emails for
mm,
the following day and stuff because you train your clients how to treat you,
mm,
right? And you got to be very aware of, like you said, your work hours, right, from 8 to 5. And if somebody calls you at
mm,
7:55, you're gonna look at their phone, right? Because you have to make sure that you protect, your thinking space,
mm,
right, and your how you flow, because how you flow is how you flow, and then listening to your body,
mm.
because yeah, we're not getting any younger, right?
I'm getting closer to 40. I'll be 37 at the end of this month, and I'm not a night owl like I used to be. And so it's like, how much energy am I willing to put in to this amount of
Hmm.
work this day? Who's going to see it? Are they even going to look at this email that I send right now that I feel like is so
Right.
urgent? But
Hmm.
sometimes we do stuff just so we don't forget it. Let me go ahead and get it done with. And before you know
Hmm.
it, you spent another
Right.
hour working on something that could have waited.
Exactly. Exactly. See, you all in my head, girl. You all what? So I mean, it's
We
the
all the
exact
same.
same
We
thing.
all
I
the
had to
same.
train myself out of that.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you. So yeah, thank you for that. And just another thing that you had mentioned before about the balance. You have to know what's best for you, and especially if you're managing a full time job and your business, there's still an element of accountability, right? As far as like how you moving, what's the purpose of your full time money? What's the purpose of your business money,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everything has to be intentional,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if you miss one thing, it's like pulling that block out the Jenga
Mm-hmm.
thing. You don't want everything to start tumbling down, right? So I did not tell you about this in the pre thing, but we gotta take a small commercial break.
Thank you. Thank
We
you.
gotta take a small commercial break to talk about GIP Academy. That's our online academy, and then we're gonna talk more about
Go
pitching.
back.
Right, right. Hey, entrepreneur. I know managing your books is overwhelming. You don't know where the numbers begin or where they end, which keeps you getting denied for grants and loans. Let's not forget the unexpected tax bills because you weren't aware of the tax deductions. So if you're thinking whether or not to close your business just because you can't find anyone that you trust to help you with your bookkeeping, you're not alone. 70% of entrepreneurs don't have a financial expert, and of that 70%, 64% admit to not knowing the basics. I'm Sonja Jones with GIP Financials, and I'm here to invite you to our online community, GIP Academy. So what is GIP Academy? It's affordable access to bookkeeping experts. For only $97 a month, you'll receive our online library of webinars, monthly live teaching with other experts, and quarterly one-on-one support. It's a safe space for entrepreneurs to talk about money and get the answers you need to make your business profitable. So, if you're ready to know your numbers, if you're ready to get approved for funding, and most importantly, if you're ready to finally pay yourself from your business, click the link in the description below. I look forward to partnering with you. Let's get it. And we are back. We are back. So I hope that you guys learned a lot from GIP Academy. It's our new academy. You do not have to, ma'am or sir, go through your business financials by yourself. If you need some hand holding, our team is here to help you. We got tons of online content as well as a monthly live teaching, and we will help you review your numbers once a quarter for $97 a month. You can't beat it. Make sure that you take advantage of GIP Academy because it is, drumroll, a tax deductible expense. Wow. All that good stuff. All right, so we're back here. I got to do it. I got to be active. I told you I was a comedian. So
I don't play about my money.
right, I'm telling you, you better get some accountability about you, right? So we're here to serve the people. Right. So we talked about um, full-time entrepreneurship. We talked about, how you talk about your personal finances and things like that, how you get started in your business and the safeguards you have to put in place. So now we're going to tap into Nancy's gift, which is pitching. And so what we do at GIP Financials, we have a series called Grants Aren't Free. And we talk about the different ways that grants look like now, because they do not look like the PPP in the forgivable part of the EIDL loan, right? It's not just like money coming out of the sky with no accountability.
Mm.
You're going to have to put some skin in the game. So, a couple of things, right? You check it. You check it up
I didn't
there.
want to miss that.
You want to miss it. I know that's right. So one of the things that we talk about a lot in the Grants Aren't Free series is pitching, right? And this is kind of what I say as far as with grants as well as pitching, because nobody's going to know your business like you do,
Exactly.
right? And we love grant writers. They have their place. But if you do not know what to tell the grant writers, you are not going to get the return on investment that you anticipated. So why not go ahead and do the groundwork yourself? Because if you can practice pitching and speaking about your business, you can transfer that skill to paper, right? And so I wanted to just let Nancy talk a little bit about pitching. So here's my first question. So Nancy, why should entrepreneurs learn to pitch? Why is pitching important for entrepreneurs?
I don't know any business owner that goes into business to not make money. And anytime you talk about your business, you're potentially selling that business to the other party. And so with that and pitching as a whole, You need to learn how to sell yourself as an entrepreneur at all times. I often tell the story of when I first got started with, even my small business. I consider myself a little angel investor because I just wanted to give back, to people who don't often get the chance. And pitching and networking for me go hand in hand. You never know who's in the room. And a lot of people say, I don't look like the information that I possess, but here we are. People missed out on opportunities to receive funding from me simply because of their perception of me. And I'm like, there go money sitting over there. And so normally when you see me in a room, I'm kind of off to myself, kind of just scoping out. I'm being very observant of my surroundings, and I'm listening for people talk about their business. If you have an actual product, before I know your name, I really want to know about your product. That's a missed opportunity for collaboration. And so many entrepreneurs miss out on money just by not simply speaking on their business.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I tell entrepreneurs all the time, like I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs feel like if they pitch, it's kind of set in stone. Like, y'all, do you know how many times I've changed my elevator pitch? And then also when we work with for profit as well as non-profit, I mean for profits as well as non-profits. So when I'm talking to those different audiences, I do have to switch it up,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you have to be aware of that, and then also we cannot stress networking enough. Y'all, you gotta get yourself out there and practice. This is like dribbling and layups,
Mm-hmm.
right? The more you do it, the better you're going to be, and that's where your confidence comes from, the competence and being able to do it, you know, within your sleep. Those folks that do it like that, I promise you, they have done it over and over and over and over again, and you can't go get around it. You have to do it, right? You got to do it.
And to that, I will say people who get burnt out quickly, they're just, for me, it feels like they're not doing enough in their business. If you're getting tired of the same old pitch, that means you're not talking about it enough. You're not being innovative enough. In a time where everything is shifting towards innovation, and we really just see innovation to be a tech thing, but there are so many ways to be innovative with your business. And I give stuff away for free all the time. Be like, you don't owe me nothing for this. This is free information. It's like we miss opportunities again just by not having those conversations with people to tap into our brain or ask us the questions and make us think outside the box as it relates to our business.
I love it. I love it. So it's like we playing tennis, just back and forth, back and forth. So yeah, so just piggybacking on that, like going back to like our story about how our mission statement and our elevator pitch has evolved, right? Just
Mhm.
like Nancy said, we get a lot of our data from our discovery calls, from our social media comments, even our pitching feedback, things like that. Because once we hear about, entrepreneurs and the things that they're going through, and that's kind of how we actually pivoted this year for 2024, because I'm pretty sure you've heard, a lot of, the revenue's kind of been, kind of wonky, right? Just due to the environment. But you as an entrepreneur, you have to learn how to pivot, right? And
Mhm.
so with that being said, a lot of our done for you services, kind of fell by the wayside. So we kind of had to tap into what entrepreneurs needed now,
Mhm.
right? So that's how GIP Academy came into play to be, because all we heard was hand holding.
Mhm.
So yeah, I appreciate this workshop, but once I leave here, I don't know what I need to do. We need hand holding. And I said, team, we need to do something with this,
Mhm.
right? And that's how we came up with GIP Academy. But we wouldn't have been able to do that if we didn't have boots and ears on the ground, right? So, like Nancy said, you got to don't be scared to put your toe in the water. You got to jump in that water, get your hair wet, all of it,
Mhm.
right? So, let's kind of talk more about. Can you talk, Nancy, about kind of like the core pitching elements that you have to have as an entrepreneur? Like what things that you need to talk about in your pitch?
You know, this is something that I always, do before actually working with somebody. I like to hear their pitch for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And say if you got 3 minutes to 5 minutes to pitch your business concept, You can't take 2 of those minutes to tell your story about how you got started.
Right.
Everybody probably has gone into business as a result of a major life event or some type of hobby or some type of passion. We're beyond that. And so when you're pitching to investors, the primary thing that they want to know is, if I invest in you, how will I make my money back? And so with that being said, the most pivotal, the most key element of your pitch, the biggest component is going to be your income information, realistic numbers.
Yes.
And again, at the end of the day, everything is public information. And so we can tell if you're making it up or not.
Say it again. Emphasis on
Everything is
realistic.
information. And we can tell if you're making it up or not. If your business did profit this. If you made $900 in year one, unless you get a big lump sum of money from somewhere, an inheritance, you're probably not going to make 20 million in 3 years. Those realistic expectations. I don't care how good your business is, unless it went viral because of a celebrity or something. Even then, you still not going to hit 10 million.
Mm-hmm.
After taxes and all the other deductions and everything from that. But everything from and I don't know if you remember this, but my key thing is, have a business plan.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're building your pitch, you can easily pull that information, my 1 to 3 year strategy, my 3 to 5 year business strategy, profit and loss statements, because your income, and they'll talk about the P&L all the time on that income statement, projected revenue that you have. And so I know where I can cut costs here. We spent this much this year on marketing. Next year, we're going to spend this, or we project to spend this. And I tell people 2024 has been very tricky for some people, just because we are in an election year, and the economy is up and down. And so you got to provide some realistic wiggle room for that, inflation or deflation, whatever that looks like. And
Right.
so your financial statements and how you can or cannot make these people money back, that is the most important piece of
Man,
the pitch.
you hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head. You the golden question is, if you are asking for money, the investors want to know how they're going to get their money back. And
Mm-hmm.
you cannot have any type of those crazy numbers out the sky. I have seen it over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
where we be picking those pitch slides apart. I said, I want to see your financials. How
Mm-hmm. None
did
of
you
that is all
do
the
that?
other information is relevant when you started, because your grandmama had a cake and she gave you the recipe. That's nice, Rest in peace to your grandmother. No disrespect,
Right.
but what did she return every year? How many cakes did she give away?
Mm-hmm.
Is she spending too much on lemon juice? So now we need to look somewhere else to get this important to us, and so we can have enough in our supply closet. And so
Mm-hmm.
now let me account for overhead. How much money additional do you believe you're going to need to run your business, just in case something
Mm-hmm.
else does not work out for you?
Absolutely. And I'll be honest with you, Nancy. There was one pitch opportunity that came up last year,
Mm-hmm.
in Miami, Florida, and I was getting coaching, and the coach asked me, um, how was the investors going to get their money back, because one of the things that I wasn't aware of was how the investors were going to offer the funding. Was it going to be in a loan, equity, things like that? And because I did not know that, I took a step back. I was like, you know what, I'm not ready for this pitch just yet,
Mm-hmm.
because they were requesting, I think the minimum ask was like $500,000.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not ready for that. And you got to be
Like
honest, like, fam, I ain't ready for that.
like 50,000 would have got us over the hump, but y'all doing too much. But again, those are those type of conversations. If somebody says, I have $500,000 for you in your business, I just want to know how we get a return on it. What do those yearly dividends look like? Will I get a 3% return? Will I get a 6% return? Let's talk about those. And those are the conversations that we often leave on the table, because most of these pitch contests around here, and we'll be quite frank about it, there are grants that is just recycled money being poured back into the community. And so there's not a lot of money to really grow your business from. And so we have to have other plans in place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why can't I pitch for $100,000 or 250?
Exactly.
Do I not believe that my business is worth that much?
Mm-hmm.
And so then we get into a mindset, and that'll pivot into an entirely different conversation.
Right, exactly. I definitely feel like I know because just speaking from my personal experience with that, I don't really hear a lot either about like the different ways that investors can ask to be a part of your business, whether it's equity or loan and things like that. Because I actually went to, I think that was in 2022. Me and a friend of mine went to, it was an Invest Tennessee event up there in Nashville, and they were talking about the different, funding opportunities. But when it came to equity, you can tell a lot of folks in the audience didn't know what equity was. Granted, they did not explain it well because y'all ain't taking part of my business, blah, 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 a whole type of thing. So there's definitely an opportunity to educate entrepreneurs on that, because you have to have specific strategies in place based off of where your business is and what would be the best investment or type of investor for your business, right? So anything you want to say about that?
I will say, again, it is knowing exactly where your business is. Pre-stage funding, pre-seed funding, and a lot of times they look at how much have you already raised on your own, not so much in revenue, but what are you able to do to pull in funds for your business legally for it to operate. And with the pre-seed funding, almost always, you can find somebody to kind of match that in funding when it comes to pre-seed funding. And then startup stage, and that's when, okay, we're here, less than a year, maybe less than that 2-3 year mark, we can find funding here. But when you get into 3 to 5 years and you're 10,000 or 20,000 off from year one, you might need to look at the entire structure of your business at that point. Again, why did you start business if not to make money, and why aren't you receiving additional help to, elevate you? And when we talk about, equity and purchasing a stake and yearly dividends, receiving it, that's no different than on your regular 9 to 5. If you're employed and you get that year-end bonus,
Yep.
we were able to do this because we had this much extra, and because you assisted me on the front end, I'm going to be able to help you out on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
And then to that piece is like, and you don't have to do it every year. Some people contractually, they set it up every 5 years. You're going to get this much out of what we got. This is just saying, this is your courtesy. I appreciate you for helping me. And if you're unsure about this, again, the investment into self is to hire somebody legally. That's and right. If you're not in a position in your business to hire the outside necessary help, again, look back at your current structure and your situation and think about where you need to be and where you're trying to be with your business.
I love it. I love it. Y'all, you getting all these gems. I hope you listen to these gems.
It's free for now.
It's free. That's why I was very intentional about how I structure my questions. Because I want to make sure that we toe the line, right? But I definitely see an opportunity in that, like I said, because entrepreneurs do need to know like the different types of investments and how to, figure those things out. So, oh man, I'm not going to take up all your time because we can rest here all day. But I love what you're doing. I love your heart for, Memphis and for, our entrepreneurs. in general. I appreciate you. So I got one more question, and I want to let you talk about how people can get in contact with you. So because we are the podcast where we, encourage entrepreneurs and nonprofits to know their numbers. Here's the question I'm going to ask you. Nancy Brownlee,
Mhm.
why is it important for entrepreneurs to know their numbers?
Why is it important? Why would you not know what's in your wallet? Um, how could you not know what's in your wallet? Um, you ever ask somebody for $20 and asking them for $20? Oh, you don't have to explain what you need the $20 for. But when you raise that 20 to 200, what you need it for?
Right.
When I'm gonna get it back?
Mm-hmm.
Um, And normally, to get the 200 out of somebody, even if it's somebody you've been to before, they need a viable story. They need a realistic story, something that is compelling enough to move them. Um, you need to know your numbers so you don't fall into the same mistakes, fall down those rabbit holes. You don't repeat certain steps. You need to know your numbers. Um, and again, regardless of where you are in your business, not knowing can lead to legal ramifications
Mm-hmm.
when tax season comes, as it relates to your deductions, how much you paid in on insurance. There's not a reason to not know.
Mm-hmm.
I can give a bunch of reasons of why you should, but it's more hurtful to not know when it comes to your business, because that's why you're in business. To back again to that opening statement of, you go into business to make money, so I need to know what's coming in. I need to know what's going out. I need to know what I can afford to put here. Everything from marketing. Do we need to give out pens at this next vendor event? I need to pay $100 to be a vendor at this next event. Do we have it here? Can we pull it from our programming? Do we pull it from operations? Do we have it in overhead to do? Um, Again, a multitude of reasons of why, but even more reasons of why not. We can't afford not to know. I'm from Mississippi. And so
I know that's right. I know that's right. It was giving Capital One a little bit. Wasn't your wife?
what's in your wallet? I tell you what's not there.
Hilarious. Yeah. So Nancy, again, thank you so much for just blessing our audience today on the podcast. Please share with us how we can get in contact with you. List all your businesses and your upcoming opportunities that you got going on.
Well, the best way to contact me, and I will say this as it relates to networking, LinkedIn is the best place to reach me as it relates to business. Facebook is for family and friends. We're not friends. And so prideworksagency@gmail.com, or you can reach me on LinkedIn, Nancy Brownlee. My picture looks like me this time. Lost a little weight, face got a little slim, just a little bit. But uh, as a matter of fact, on the 29th of October, I'll be at the Cultural Lab teaching a workshop about pitching and how to pitch and why pitching is important. And then on the 17th, it might be on the 18th, I can't keep up. Junior Achievement Leave, I'll be over at Westside Middle School talking to the kids about entrepreneurship. And so I think you might need a guest pass to get in there, but definitely support the Culture Collab, 6060 Mount Moriah. And
Mhm.
Melissa should be happy that I memorized that. Suite 14. It's in East Memphis, the Culture Collab, the only Black co-working space in Memphis. And so if you support Black, you love Black, give back to Black and get over there and co-work and network. If nothing
Mhm.
else, I'm always going to push networking, especially with our Black business owners.
I love it. Yes, and the Culture Collab, the meeting that we were at, and shout out to our mayor Paul Young. That was his second time coming to the Culture Collab to talk with entrepreneurs about the vision for the city of Memphis, and also for entrepreneurs to kind of share their thoughts about the trajectory of entrepreneurship in the city. It was a great opportunity. And yeah, it's amazing. So that's why we need to have each other. That's why community is important. So we'll have all of Nancy's information in the description below, and we'll also send it to our email list as well. So, Nancy, thank you
Thank
from
you
the
for
bottom of my
having me.
heart. All right, so we'll see you guys on the next episode. Holla at y'all on the other side. Hey y'all, thanks so much for tuning in to the From Chaos to Clarity Unleash Your Business Potential podcast. Again, my name is Sonja Jones of GIP Financials, your Mr. Miyagi of Money. And look, if you learned something from this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Make sure that you like, that you subscribe. If you have some little nuggets, add some comments to the comment section of this podcast. But most importantly, I want you to share it with your fellow entrepreneurs. We want to share this good old fundamental business finance education so you can have the tools necessary to know your numbers and grow your business. All right. Take care, y'all. I'll catch you on the next episode.